Frank Carter stood on the bridge of the starship Defiant, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of holographic displays. As captain of Earth's flagship, he had seen his share of strange encounters, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission." "It's not from Earth," said Communications Officer Lily Grant, her voice steady despite the tension. It was the year 2089, and humanity had spread throughout the solar system, establishing colonies on Mars and mining operations in the asteroid belt. For decades, scientists had sent signals into the void, hoping for a response. Today, that response had arrived. "Put it on screen," Frank ordered, straightening his uniform as the crew fell silent. The main display flickered, revealing a humanoid figure with blue-gray skin and large reflective eyes. Ornate markings covered its elongated skull, and its mouth seemed fixed in a permanent grimace. "I am HFY, ambassador of the Kilari Dominion." The alien spoke in perfect English. "We have been observing your species for some time." Frank stepped forward. "This is Captain Frank Carter of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization." The alien's expression didn't change. "Peace is available to those who understand their place in the galaxy, Captain. The Kilari Dominion controls 200 star systems. Your technological advancement has not gone unnoticed. We offer you a choice. Surrender your world's resources to our authority, or face annihilation." Silence fell across the bridge. Frank felt his heart pounding but kept his face neutral. First contact, and it was an ultimatum. "Ambassador, perhaps we can discuss terms that benefit both our species," Frank suggested. "There is nothing to discuss. You have 30 Earth days to prepare your surrender. We will arrive at your homeworld then." The transmission cut off abruptly. "Get me Earth Command," Frank ordered, his mind racing. Within hours, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Dr. Olivia Wells, the leading physicist in quantum communications, was called to present her analysis of the Kilari transmission. "Based on the signal patterns, I believe the Kilari use a form of subspace communication," she explained to the assembled leaders. "But they show no signs of understanding quantum entanglement technology. This could be our advantage." General Patricia Hayes nodded. "So they can't detect or intercept quantum-entangled messages." "Exactly," Olivia confirmed. "We could communicate right under their noses." President Nathan Rivers rose from his seat. "Our answer to the Kilari is clear. Humanity will not surrender. We've faced extinction-level threats before, from our own making and from nature, but we've survived because we refuse to give up." The following weeks saw the greatest mobilization in human history. Hidden bases were established beneath the surfaces of Mars, Europa, and Titan. The quantum communication network was expanded, connecting every outpost in the solar system through channels invisible to Kilari sensors. On the 30th day, the sky above Earth darkened as massive Kilari warships entered orbit. They dwarfed humanity's largest vessels, their hulls bristling with weapons beyond Earth's understanding. Ambassador HFY appeared on screens worldwide. "What is your answer?" Frank Carter, now appointed as humanity's representative, delivered Earth's response. "The people of Earth have faced countless challenges throughout our history. We've overcome ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own destructive tendencies. Each time, we emerged stronger. We will not surrender our home to become another trophy in your collection. If you want Earth, you'll have to fight for it. And know this, we do not start wars, but we finish them." HFY's reflective eyes narrowed. "Then you have chosen extinction." As the transmission ended, Frank turned to Olivia Wells. "How long before they detect our quantum network?" She smiled slightly. "They won't. That's the beauty of it. While they think they're crushing our resistance, we'll be building our strength right under their noses." Frank nodded grimly. "Then let's give them a fight they'll never forget." The first Kilari attack came without warning. They destroyed Earth's orbital defense platforms with ruthless efficiency. Cities around the world watched helplessly as the alien ships established a blockade, cutting off all conventional communications with the colonies on Mars and beyond. "They think they've isolated us," Lieutenant Darren Wright said, standing in the cramped underground facility beneath the Martian surface. Around him, 24 men and women worked at hastily assembled stations, but they have no idea about our quantum network. It had been 3 months since the Kilari ultimatum. On the surface, Earth appeared to have surrendered, allowing Kilari forces to establish bases on the Moon and begin harvesting resources. But beneath this apparent defeat, humanity was organizing the greatest resistance the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Allison Reed studied the holographic map showing Kilari patrol routes. Her job was to move people and supplies between hidden bases without detection. "We have a window opening tonight. We can move the new engineers to Europa." Darren nodded. "Good. Dr. Wells needs them to expand the quantum shield generators." The quantum shields were humanity's greatest secret. Based on Dr. Olivia Wells' breakthrough research, these devices created fields that bent light and other detection methods around objects. The Kilari couldn't find what they couldn't see. On Earth, life under occupation was harsh. The aliens established processing centers in major cities, cataloging humans and selecting the strongest for labor in their mining operations. Families were separated, and any sign of resistance was met with swift punishment. But the Kilari couldn't watch everyone. In basements, warehouses, and abandoned subway tunnels, Earth's resistance grew. People smuggled parts from Kilari facilities, built communication devices according to Dr. Wells' designs, and prepared for the day they would fight back. "We've completed the 4th Europa base," reported Sam Parker, the chief engineer on Jupiter's moon. His voice came through the quantum communicator perfectly clear, despite being millions of miles away. The ice layer provides natural shielding from their scans. Admiral John Gray, formerly of the Earth Defense Fleet and now leader of the Resistance, stood at the center of the Mars command room. "How's production coming on the fighter craft?" "We've completed 20 stealth ships," Sam replied. "With the materials from the asteroid mining operation, we can build 50 more within 6 months. 6 months. It seemed like an eternity when people were suffering under Kilari rule, but they had to be patient. Strike too soon with too little, and humanity's last chance would be lost. On Earth, Karen Mitchell led a network of spies placed among the human workers in Kilari facilities. "They don't see us as threats," she explained during a secure transmission. "They think we're primitive because we don't have their technology. They talk freely around us." This underestimation proved to be the Kilari's greatest mistake. Karen's network learned that the aliens had conquered dozens of species across the galaxy, always following the same pattern: intimidate, isolate, occupy, and extract. They had never faced serious resistance after their initial show of force. "They're getting complacent," Darren observed during a strategy meeting in the 5th month of occupation. "Their patrols are becoming predictable. They're splitting their forces to expand mining operations on Venus." Allison smiled slightly. "Perfect. That gives us more shadows to work in." The resistance grew stronger each day. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt constructed vessels equipped with quantum technology. Training facilities on Europa prepared soldiers. Scientists reverse-engineered captured Kilari weapons. 1 year into the occupation, the Kilari commander sent a message to his superiors. "Earth is fully subjugated. Resource extraction proceeding on schedule. No significant resistance encountered." That same day, Admiral Gray approved the first strike mission. "It's time to show them who they're really dealing with," he said, his eyes reflecting the determination that burned in every human heart. "We've been patient. We've been smart. Now, we begin to fight back." 5 years had passed since the Kilari first appeared in Earth's skies. The aliens believed they had crushed human resistance and established complete control over the solar system. They were wrong. Deep within the ice caves of Europa, Engineer Kevin Foster made final adjustments to the quantum shield generator on the ship Defiance. This was the largest vessel humans had built in secret, capable of carrying hundreds of fighters and thousands of troops. "The shield is stable," Kevin announced, wiping sweat from his brow. "She's ready, Admiral." Admiral Lisa Blackwood nodded, her gray eyes reflecting the blue glow of the shield. Once a junior officer in Earth's Navy, she now commanded humanity's hidden fleet. "Begin final preparations. We strike in 3 days." Across the solar system, similar preparations were underway. On Mars, Commander Darren Wright's forces ready to emerge from their underground bases. In the asteroid belt, mining ships converted to warships moved into position. On Earth itself, resistance cells prepared to sabotage key Kilari facilities. The quantum network hummed with activity, invisible to the aliens who thought they monitored all communications. Dr. Olivia Wells coordinated from her laboratory beneath the lunar surface, hidden just miles from the main Kilari command center. "The Kilari still don't understand how we're organizing," she explained during the final briefing. "Their science relies on subspace technology. Quantum entanglement is completely outside their experience." The plan was simple but dangerous. A coordinated attack on every major Kilari installation simultaneously. The element of surprise was their greatest weapon. On the day of the attack, Ken Miller sat in the cockpit of his fighter, waiting in the shadow of a small asteroid near the main Kilari battleship. His quantum shield made him invisible to their sensors. Dozens of other pilots waited nearby, all hidden in plain sight. "All units in position," came the message through his quantum communicator. "Attack begins in 3 minutes." Ken checked his weapons systems one last time. The fighters were armed with weapons designed specifically to target Kilari shield frequencies, developed by studying debris from their ships. The countdown reached 0. Across the solar system, humanity struck back. On Earth, power stations supplying Kilari bases suddenly failed. On Mars, underground hangar doors opened, releasing swarms of fighters. From Europa, the Defiance emerged from its icy hiding place. Ken ignited his engines and shot toward the Kilari command ship. All around him, fighters appeared seemingly from nowhere as they deactivated their quantum shields. The Kilari had no warning. "They're scrambling," Ken shouted as enemy ships began to respond. "They had no idea we were here." The battle was fierce but one-sided. Human ships, built with 5 years of careful preparation and incorporating stolen Kilari technology, cut through the surprised alien fleet. The Defiance led the charge, its quantum shield shifting frequencies to adapt to Kilari weapons. Admiral Blackwood stood on the bridge, directing the assault. "Target their command center. We need to capture their leaders alive." Within hours, the main Kilari battle group was in ruins. Admiral Blackwood's troops boarded the command ship, fighting their way to the central control room. There they found the Kilari commander, Zex Fall, the same ambassador who had delivered the ultimatum years before. "Impossible," he hissed as human soldiers surrounded him. "You are a primitive species. How did you hide this from us?" Admiral Blackwood stepped forward. "You made a critical mistake. You judged us by your standards and assumed we would fight as you do." During interrogation, the captured Kilari revealed crucial information. Their empire controlled many star systems, but they weren't the only power in the galaxy. Other species had been subjugated, forced to serve as laborers and soldiers. "We can use this," Admiral Blackwood told her officers after reviewing the information. "If other species are oppressed, they might join us." As news of the victory spread through the quantum network, humans everywhere celebrated. For the first time in 5 years, they allowed themselves to hope. This was not just a battle won. It was proof that humanity could fight back against the stars themselves. The war for Earth had truly begun. Captain Sharon King stood on the bridge of the horizon, the first human ship designed for deep space exploration beyond the solar system. Her mission was both simple and impossible. Find allies among the stars. "Jump drive charged and ready, Captain," reported Navigation Officer Eric Cole. Coordinates set for the Novan system. Sharon took a deep breath. The captured Kilari database had identified the Novans as one of the first species conquered by the Dominion. If anyone had reason to join humanity's fight, it would be them. "Execute jump," she ordered. The stars blurred around them as the horizon tore through space, using technology reverse-engineered from Kilari ships. The quantum shields kept them hidden from detection as they entered the Novan system, a red dwarf star with 7 planets. "Life signs on the 3rd planet," reported Science Officer Maya Bennett. "Heavy Kilari presence in orbit, but it appears to be a minimal occupation force." Sharon nodded. "They pulled ships to defend against our attacks in the solar system. This is our chance." The horizon slipped past Kilari patrols and established orbit around the night side of the planet. Sharon led the first contact team to the surface in a cloaked shuttle, landing near what appeared to be a resistance camp hidden in dense purple forests. The Novans were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin and 4 arms. They were initially terrified when humans appeared in their camp, but their leader, Kyle Wren, showed remarkable courage. "You fight the Kilari?" he asked in halting English, learned from the translation device Sharon offered. "Yes," Sharon replied. "They attacked our world too. We've come seeking allies." Over the next week, Sharon learned the tragic history of the Novans. Once a peaceful civilization of artists and philosophers, they had been conquered a century ago. The Kilari used their planet as a farm for exotic materials and forced labor. "We tried to fight back many times," Kyle Wren explained. "But we lacked the weapons, the technology. We can provide both," Sharon promised. "And more importantly, we can offer hope." Using quantum communicators, Sharon contacted Admiral Blackwood. Soon, the horizon was delivering weapons and training to the Novans. Within a month, the aliens had overwhelmed the small Kilari garrison on their world and seized control of their own planet for the first time in generations. Emboldened by this success, Sharon's mission continued to the Tyrillian system. The Tyrillians were insectoid beings who had been fighting a guerrilla war against their Kilari oppressors for decades. They quickly embraced the alliance with humans and Novans. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Paul Harrison made a critical breakthrough. Studying Kilari prisoners, he discovered a biological weakness in their nervous system. "Their neural pathways are sensitive to specific frequencies," he explained to Admiral Blackwood. "We can develop weapons that incapacitate them without harming humans or our new allies." As word spread of successful rebellions, more subjugated species joined what became known as the Liberated. Captain King's diplomatic missions expanded, building a coalition of diverse beings united by their desire for freedom. 6 months after Sharon's first mission, representatives from 7 former Kilari slave worlds gathered on Europa. The meeting was historic, the first galactic alliance formed to oppose Kilari dominion. "For too long, we suffered alone," Kyle Wren addressed the assembly. "Each of us thought we were fighting an invincible enemy. Now we know the truth. United, we can defeat them." Admiral Blackwood presented their battle plan. The coalition would strike simultaneously across multiple star systems, using quantum technology to coordinate their attacks. Human ships would lead the charge, supported by fighters from each liberated world. The first major test came at Proxima Centauri, where a significant Kilari fleet had gathered to plan a counterattack against Earth. The battle lasted 3 days and ended with the complete destruction of the Kilari forces. News of this defeat spread quickly through the Dominion. For the first time in their history, the Kilari faced an enemy they couldn't easily crush. More importantly, they faced an enemy they couldn't understand, one that seemed to appear and disappear at will, striking from impossible directions with impossible coordination. The tide of war was turning, and the galaxy was beginning to witness something it had never seen before. The indomitable spirit of humanity joined with the desperate courage of the oppressed. Major Greg Wilson crouched behind a fallen pillar, plasma rifle clutched to his chest. Around him, the ruins of what had once been a Kilari command center smoldered. His squad of human and Novum soldiers moved silently through the wreckage, securing the area. "All clear, Major," reported Sergeant Brenda Taylor over the quantum comm. "They didn't leave anything useful behind." Greg nodded, though she couldn't see him. "Standard procedure now. They're getting smart to our tactics." 17 months had passed since the formation of the Liberated Coalition. What had begun as desperate resistance had evolved into a coordinated war effort spanning multiple star systems. The Kilari Dominion, for the first time in its 1,000-year history, was losing ground. "Command to Alpha Squad," came Admiral Blackwood's voice. "Return to base. We've detected Kilari reinforcements heading your way." Greg signaled his team, and they retreated to their cloaked shuttles. As they lifted off, he watched Kilari destroyers appear in the sky. Too late to catch them, but right on schedule. "They're getting predictable," he told Brenda as their shuttle accelerated toward the Defiance waiting in orbit. "That's the third time they've used this exact response pattern." Greg had become known throughout the Liberated Forces for his tactical genius. He could anticipate Kilari moves before they made them, turning their methodical nature against them. Under his guidance, human-led forces had liberated 3 star systems in the past month alone. Back aboard the Defiance, Admiral Blackwood called her commanders to the war room. The holographic display showed the current state of the conflict across 20 star systems. "The Kilari are pulling back to their core worlds," she explained, highlighting the movement of enemy fleets. "But they're not retreating. They're consolidating their forces." General Ryan Cooper, commander of the ground forces, frowned. "They're preparing for a major counteroffensive." "Yes," Admiral Blackwood confirmed. "And they've changed tactics. Reports from the Tyrillian sector indicate they've begun targeting civilian populations." A grim silence fell over the room. Until now, the Kilari had focused on military targets, seeing civilians as resources to be exploited rather than enemies to be destroyed. "They're getting desperate," Greg observed. "They know they're losing and they're trying to break our spirit." Reports came in from across liberated territories. On worlds recently freed from Kilari control, returning occupation forces were executing civilians, destroying food supplies, and salting agricultural lands. The message was clear: resistance would be punished with extinction. The Liberated Coalition faced its greatest test. Some argued for caution, for pulling back to consolidate their own forces. Others demanded immediate action to protect vulnerable populations. In the end, Admiral Blackwood made the decision that would define the war. "We will not retreat. We will not abandon those who trusted us with their freedom. Instead, we advance." Using quantum entanglement, she broadcast a message to every Kilari command center. "This is Admiral Lisa Blackwood of the Liberated Forces. Your attacks on civilian populations have not weakened our resolve. They have strengthened it. You have 1 standard week to withdraw from all occupied territories and return to your homeworld. Refuse, and we will bring this war to your doorstep. This is not a negotiation. This is humanity's promise." The Kilari response came swiftly. Attacks increased in intensity. 17 worlds suffered bombardment from orbit. Millions died. Major Greg Wilson stood with his team on the bridge of the Defiance as they watched footage from the attacked worlds. "They think this will break us," he said quietly. "They don't understand human nature at all." In the largest mobilization yet seen, the liberated forces prepared for a massive offensive. Ships gathered from every allied species. New weapons were distributed, including Dr. Harrison's neural disruptors that could incapacitate Kilari without killing them. As the fleet prepared to jump to the first target, Greg looked at the diverse crews working together, humans alongside beings from across the galaxy, all united by their refusal to surrender. "They wanted to crush our spirit," Admiral Blackwood told her forces. "Instead, they showed us exactly why we must win. For everyone's future, victory will be ours." Lieutenant Colonel Henry Martinez checked his neural disruptor rifle one last time as the dropship shuddered through the atmosphere of Keeler Prime. Around him, soldiers from 3 different species prepared for battle. The final offensive against the Kilari Dominion had begun. 2 minutes to landing zone, announced the pilot, her voice steady despite the anti-aircraft fire exploding around them. Above the planet, the largest space battle in galactic history raged. Admiral Blackwood commanded the combined fleet from the Defiance, coordinating thousands of ships from 17 liberated worlds. Chief Engineer Diane Clark had retrofitted hundreds of captured Kilari vessels with quantum technology, turning the enemy's weapons against them. "Remember your training," Henry told his troops. "Stay in formation, watch for ambushes, and keep your quantum comms active at all times." The dropship landed with a heavy thud. The door opened, revealing a landscape of crystalline towers and purple skies. Keeler Prime, the heart of the empire that had threatened to destroy humanity and enslave countless species. "Move out," Henry ordered, and his troops poured onto the alien surface. The Kilari had expected an attack, but not on their homeworld. Not so soon. The quantum jump drives had allowed the liberated forces to bypass outer defenses and strike directly at the heart of their civilization. "Central Command reports the orbital platforms are neutralized," came Admiral Blackwood's voice through the quantum network. "Ground forces, proceed to your objectives." Henry led his battalion toward the central government complex, a massive structure that housed the Kilari ruling council. Other teams targeted power stations, military bases, and communication hubs across the capital city. They encountered heavy resistance. Kilari elite guards fought with a desperation that their forces in the outer territories had never shown. They were defending their home, just as humans had defended Earth years before. "They're falling back to the central plaza," reported Sergeant Ryan Hill as they pushed through another defensive line. "I think they're protecting something important." Henry ordered his forces to advance cautiously. As they entered the expansive central plaza, they discovered what the Kilari were defending. A massive quantum gate, larger than any they had seen before. "Admiral, we found something," Henry reported, sending visual data through his helmet camera. "Some kind of large-scale transit system." "That's their evacuation route," Admiral Blackwood replied after consulting with her analysts. "They're planning to abandon their homeworld and escape to another galaxy entirely." In orbit, the space battle reached its climax. The Kilari Grand Armada, their most powerful fleet, had arrived to defend their homeworld. Ships from both sides were being destroyed by the hundreds. Chief Engineer Diane Clark worked frantically on the Defiance's bridge, analyzing data from the planet's surface. "If we can capture that quantum gate intact, we could learn how to build our own," she told Admiral Blackwood. "It could revolutionize interstellar travel." The Admiral made her decision. "Lieutenant Colonel Martinez, your new priority is to secure that gate. Do not destroy it unless absolutely necessary." On the surface, Henry reorganized his forces. "Team Alpha with me for the frontal assault. Team Beta, circle around and flank them. Team Gamma, provide covering fire." The battle for the central plaza was the fiercest of the war. The Kilari Supreme Commander, Zextal, led the defense personally. His forces fought with advanced weapons that could penetrate quantum shields. "We're taking heavy losses," shouted Sergeant Hill as another explosion rocked their position. Henry made a bold decision. "All teams, deploy neural disruptors on my mark. Full spectrum, maximum intensity." The weapons Dr. Harrison had developed targeted the Kilari nervous system specifically. When activated simultaneously, they created a cascading effect that incapacitated every Kilari soldier in the plaza without harming the Allied forces. As the Kilari fell, Henry led the charge to secure the quantum gate. They captured Zextal alive, along with several members of the Kilari High Command. In orbit, seeing their leaders captured and their escape route blocked, the remaining Kilari ships began to surrender. After centuries of tyranny, the Dominion was falling. Admiral Blackwood's voice came through the quantum network to all Allied forces. "The central government has surrendered. The war is over. Victory is ours." The Great Hall of the former Kilari High Command had been transformed. Where once only the ruling elite of the Dominion gathered, now representatives from 23 species sat together at a circular table. Banners from each world hung from the high ceiling, with Earth's blue and green flag prominently displayed. Captain Frank Carter stood at the center, older now, his hair gray at the temples. The young officer who had received the first Kilari ultimatum 7 years ago had become the voice of humanity to the stars. "The war is over," he began, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. "The Kilari Dominion has surrendered unconditionally. Their fleets are disarmed, their weapons destroyed. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy breathes free." Applause erupted from the gathered representatives. The victory had not come easily. Billions had died across dozens of worlds. Entire ecosystems had been devastated, but the alternative, subjugation under Kilari rule, had been unthinkable. "Today we establish the Interstellar Council," Frank continued when the noise subsided. "Not an empire, not a dominion, but a fellowship of equals. Each species will govern itself, while together we ensure peace among the stars." The Novan representative, Kyle Ren, rose to speak. "We owe our freedom to the humans. When the Kilari came to Earth, humanity could have surrendered. Instead, they chose to fight not only for themselves, but for all oppressed peoples." The Tyrillian Queen clicked her mandibles in agreement. "For a century, we fought alone against the Dominion. We believed freedom was impossible. Humans showed us otherwise." Admiral Lisa Blackwood, now Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, stepped forward. "We did not win this war alone. Every species represented here contributed courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. Together, we accomplished what none could do separately." The formal signing of the Interstellar Charter took place amid solemn ceremony. Each representative placed their mark on the document that would govern relations between worlds. Earth, as the architect of victory, was granted the honor of hosting the Council's headquarters. Later that day, Frank stood with Admiral Blackwood on a balcony overlooking the Kilari capital city. Reconstruction was already underway, with beings from all allied worlds working together. "What happens to the Kilari now?" Frank asked quietly. "They'll be confined to their homeworld for at least a generation," she replied. "No military, no space travel. But we won't become what we fought against. They'll have the chance to build a peaceful society." Frank nodded. "And us? What's next for humanity?" "We lead," she said simply. "Not by force, but by example. The quantum gate technology we captured is being studied. Soon we'll be able to explore beyond our local galactic cluster. There's so much more to discover." 3 months later, a special project was completed at the edge of the solar system. A massive beacon, visible to any ship approaching Earth space, projected a simple message in thousands of languages. "This is the territory of humanity and our allies. We come in peace and offer friendship to all who do the same. Remember the fate of the Kilari Dominion. This is humanity's last warning to the galaxy. We prefer peace, but if forced to war, victory will be ours." On Earth, life was returning to normal. Cities destroyed during the occupation were rebuilt. Families separated by war were reunited. The knowledge gained from other civilizations led to advancements in medicine, agriculture, and energy production. In schools across the planet, children learned about the war not as a story of human superiority, but as an example of what cooperation can achieve against overwhelming odds. The xenophobia that might have followed such a conflict was deliberately countered with education about their galactic neighbors. Dr. Olivia Wells, whose quantum discoveries had made victory possible, directed the new Interstellar Academy of Sciences. Engineers Kevin Foster and Diane Clark led teams developing peaceful applications for technologies created during the war. As Frank Carter prepared to retire from service, a reporter asked him for his final thoughts on humanity's future among the stars. "We proved something important," he said after a moment's reflection. "Not just that humans are stubborn fighters, we already knew that, but that we're at our best when we fight for others as well as ourselves. The galaxy is vast and mostly unknown. There will be new challenges, new threats perhaps, but we face them together now, not alone. And that makes all the difference. I noticed you're asking for part 8, but the outline I created earlier only had 7 parts to the story. I'd be happy to write an additional part that continues the story beyond the conclusion in part 7. Here it is. 20 years had passed since the fall of the Kilari Dominion. The Interstellar Council had grown to include 35 species, and humanity's influence had spread across 3 galactic arms. Peace had largely prevailed, though not without challenges. Ben Carter, son of the legendary Captain Frank Carter, stood on the observation deck of the exploration vessel Discovery. At 32, he had his father's determined eyes and mother's analytical mind. As the ship's science officer, he led the team investigating anomalies at the edge of known space. Still nothing on standard sensors, reported Zara Williams, his assistant. But the quantum detectors are picking up unusual patterns. Ben studied the readings. For months, ships had reported strange energy fluctuations in this region. The Council had sent Discovery to investigate. It's almost like a hidden doorway, Ben murmured. Similar to quantum gate technology, but far more advanced. Admiral Maya Bennett, once a junior science officer during the war and now commander of the exploration fleet, joined them at the console. At 60, her hair was silver, but her mind remained sharp. Could it be Kilari technology? She asked. Some hidden outpost we missed. Ben shook his head. This is beyond even their capabilities. This is something new. The mystery deepened when the Discovery detected a faint transmission emanating from the anomaly. It used no known communication protocol and resisted standard translation attempts. Ben worked day and night, applying everything he had learned about quantum physics. Finally, after 3 weeks, he made a breakthrough. It's a warning, he told the assembled senior staff. Or maybe an invitation. From what I can translate, it's from a civilization that calls themselves the Architects. Architects of what? Asked Captain Laura Reed. Of galaxies, perhaps, Ben replied. The message suggests they created the quantum gates the Kilari used. They've been watching us since we defeated the Dominion. The Discovery sent word to Earth. Within days, a special council session was convened. Representatives debated whether to respond to the message, and if so, what to say. Olivia Wells, now in her 80s and serving as Earth's ambassador to the Council, argued for caution but not fear. We've faced the unknown before. That's how we grow. The Council authorized a response. Ben Carter was chosen to draft it, given his understanding of the complex message. His words were simple but powerful. We are the united peoples of the Interstellar Council. We seek knowledge and peaceful exchange. If you wish to meet, we are ready. 2 months passed with no reply. Then, without warning, the anomaly expanded. A ship emerged, unlike any vessel they had ever seen. It seemed to be made of light itself, constantly shifting form. The Discovery's quantum communicator activated automatically. A voice spoke in perfect English. We have watched your development with interest. The Kilari were our failed experiment. Given technology, they were not ready for. You defeated them not with superior weapons, but with cooperation and innovation. This suggests you may be ready for what comes next. Ben Carter found himself appointed as humanity's representative to the Architects. Their technology was thousands of years beyond even the most advanced Council world. They revealed that the galaxy was divided into sectors, each watched over by elder races like themselves. You stand at a crossroads, the Architect ambassador told Ben during their first formal meeting. Join us as students and eventually colleagues, or remain isolated in your small corner of the universe. The Council faced its greatest decision. Some feared another trap like the Kilari. Others saw unprecedented opportunity. In the end, it was Admiral Bennett who summarized humanity's position. Throughout our history, we've faced the unknown. Sometimes with fear, sometimes with weapons. But our greatest achievements came when we faced it with curiosity and courage. The Council voted to accept the Architect's offer. A new era began, not of war, but of learning. Humanity and their allies would venture into the wider galaxy, not as conquerors or the conquered, but as explorers ready to take their place among the stars. As Ben Carter prepared for his first journey to the architect's home realm, he thought of his father's words from long ago. The universe is vast and mostly unknown. There will be new challenges ahead, but we face them together now, not alone.